I'm JDon Dewveall. I'm 52 years old. Um, I used to be a meth addict and an alcoholic, and now I'm free indeed. I grew up in church. My grandparents and my aunt and uncle made sure that they got me to church. My dad didn't go to church, and so it was kind of dependent on when they would come get me if I got to go to church or not. But as a teenager, I started straying away. I was very rebellious, and I wanted to drink. I wanted to hang out with my friends. The peer pressure got to me, and I guess I was kind of a follower back then. I started drinking, smoked a little weed here and there, didn't like it. I had just turned 17. I had my first child, and I ended up moving in with my grandparents, and I had to go to church then, so I got back in church, and unfortunately that relationship didn't work out. She left me for partying. She wanted to do meth and drugs, and then I got into another relationship, and in that relationship I had 3 children with her, and we ended up not working out. After the divorce, I started going to the bars. I got custody of my children. I started going to the bars, and I started drinking a whole lot, and married a bartender from Lynn's Saloon here in Azle. And it lasted 3 months to the day. And then I found a meth pipe, and I wasn't going to have anything to do with that, and I kicked her out, and it really just started weighing on me. What's so good about this drug that these women would rather have it than me? That's 3 women that got on meth. So I decided to go to a friend of mine that I knew did it and ask him if I could try it. And so he told me no. He said, "You're too good a friend. I'm not gonna introduce you to that stuff. You'll have to find it somewhere else." And so I did. I went seeking it further and further. Finally, I found it. I tried it. I loved it. And I made it my God, I guess you could say. I went from trying it the first time to within 6 months being an IV meth user. I learned how to manufacture it. I started dealing it, and I was getting skinny. I was looking horrible. I was miserable. Everything in life was miserable. I got busted trying to sell some drugs. I drove up. There was a chop shop. Police come out of the bushes with their guns drawn, telling me, get your hands on the steering wheel. And they opened up the car door and pulled me out of there. And I had quite a bit of drugs, quite a bit of meth on me. I had just cooked a batch of it. And the cop took my statement down, and I admitted that I had these drugs. I lied to him about where I got them from, and so he took all the drugs and told me I had met him before, and so that day he had me sign a statement. I signed the statement saying that I had this, and he said he had up to 2 years to file it. That was December 27th of 2004, and so I quit drugs that day. I went home and I thought one last time, and I did a big old shot of meth, and I did such a big shot it knocked me out. And when I woke up, I ended up giving temporary custody to my mother-in-law for my kids, my ex-mother-in-law. 11 months after that arrest, on December the 27th, they showed up at my house and arrested me for no reason. I was clean and sober. When I went to court 2 years later, it took 2 years to get to court. They couldn't find the signed statement I had, so it was the state's word against mine. I had been dabbling, smoking some weed every once in a while here and there. Everyone says weed's not a drug, but I disagree. It is. And even though it's legal in some places now, it's no good. That weed, because I had weed in my system, they gave me 5 years of probation, 5 years deferred adjudicated probation. Okay, so after staying clean for 4.5 years, working at the city of Azle, Went through another divorce, and failed relationships are the tests I still have never passed, I guess you might say. I always turned to drugs and alcohol, and so I relapsed and got fired from my job. Ended up, after relapsing, I ended up getting clean, relapsing, getting clean, relapsing. I tried so many times to quit, and I couldn't. I even ended up, my 5-year deferred adjudicated probation ended up being 8 years probation, and it ended with the state jail prison sentence. When I was locked up, I decided to ask God to come back into my life. I had told him I didn't need him anymore, and by this time in life, I was begging him to come back. This was the lowest point in my life, was prison. I'd like to tell you that when I got out of prison, that I started coming to church every day and everything was great, but it wasn't. I relapsed. I relapsed about 4 months after being out of prison, and was out for 8 months, and then met my current wife that I'm with now. And I told her, hey, I got a problem with meth, and she said, well, you need to get away from me then, because I don't want any part of that. And so I said, I've been wanting to quit. Will you help me? You know, I tried to quit so many times, and I just couldn't do it. And she thought on it a little while, and then she decided she would try to help me. And so I told her when I was sobering up, I know I've been called to be a minister. Actually, I told her, I know I've been called to preach. Will you be okay with being a preacher's wife? And I don't think she took me serious, but she ended up saying yes, that she could do that if we were to even make it that long. You know, we were still dating at this time. You know, I ended up coming back to the church at Azle and came here faithfully. You know, every Sunday we were here, and then after about a year of us doing that, we made some commitments to the Lord. She and I both. We decided to stop having sex outside of marriage, and we decided to pray every day. We decided to do Bible study every day together. And I was still smoking weed, so we decided to quit smoking weed as well. And we made the commitment to tithe on every penny we got, no matter what. Since then, we haven't really ran out of money again. We weren't even living paycheck to paycheck then, but God's blessed us abundantly. About a month after I made those commitments to the Lord, Pastor Mike came to me and asked, he said, are you ready? And I said, am I ready for what? And he says, are you ready to lead our recovery group at our church? And I said, oh, I don't know if I'm the right person for that job. He said, well, I'd like for you to pray about it and see where God leads you. And so I went home and I told Christy, and I talked to her about it. We prayed about it, and we felt like that's where God was leading us. I started leading the Finish Line group here, the Finish Line recovery group here in August of 2015. And then in May of 2018, I was ordained as a minister here at the church. I'm pastor of the recovery ministry and assistant pastor. And God's changed my life completely. You know, He's restored everything I lost. He's provided me with the perfect woman. He provided me with the perfect church family. For me, I'm free indeed, because I believe God has delivered me from those addictions. I believe that He set me free. To be free indeed is living for Christ. That's what free indeed is to me.